Okay, I was gonna make this video with my GoPro. To my surprise, the battery's dead. My batteries are basically never dead, so that's strange. Must have gotten left on at some point. This video is long overdue, so we're gonna see how this turns out with my iPhone. So like, I don't even know where to start in regards to this car, how this came to be. This is definitely, I feel, a little more interesting than the generic BMW videos that I was making. All right. This is the $650 Mercedes-Benz CLK 430. Where do I start? One day I was driving through town where I live and I saw a for sale sign on this car. I knew at that moment when there was a paper for sale sign on the car that this sale was not being hosted by a really annoying Facebook Marketplace user, because the only people that use Facebook Marketplace at this point are really. It turned out that this was owned by an older guy, dad, I'd say, probably, I want to say early 50s, and he was tired of it. He had a kid and all that. He said he bought it off of his neighbor, blah, 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 blah. You know, the whole story of that. This guy was under the impression he was only the second owner. Turned out that he was actually the fourth owner, and now I'm the fifth owner. I mean, for being 20 years old, this is a 2001, it's not that bad. Nothing in the interior has been modified, really. The glove box wouldn't stay closed for a handful of minutes, so the guy decided to put duct tape over the front of it, but now there's glue just adhered to the leather. So I put some Velcro on the inside like a normal person, but you know, surprisingly enough, the sunroof actually still works, but I'm not going to test it too much, so I just leave it cracked most of the time, and yeah, that's about it. Look at that bang up license plate cover job. Again, not too bad. I took a look at the Carfax and it had a little minor accident on it. Between all the shit that it needed, still needs, and the front bumper that was screwed up at the time, which I'll insert a photo here, I was like, okay man, like, listen, you're asking this, but let me show you everything it needs. Offered him $500, he countered with $650, and I went to pick it up 2 hours later. It's not bad for what it is. It's difficult trying to get people to lend a hand on this car because they really don't like it for whatever the reason is. I really like it, actually. I think it's a great platform. I'm honestly considering options to throw a motor in here when the original one decides to kick the bucket. It's pretty clean for what it is. Runs and drives. It needs a lot of suspension work. What I kept saying to my friends and family when I picked up this car, I said everything's been maintained like a true dad figure. So you'd have something like the brakes needed to be replaced, and there's obvious history. They've been replaced and changed, and tires and things like that. Oil changes consistently, but something like the driver's seat. Driver's seat doesn't work. Driver's seat power does not work. So when you go to move it, it'll only move in a couple different directions. Oh. And yeah, so it's little things like that. It's all the luxuries that Mercedes-Benz added to this car that weren't a complete necessity to get you from point A to point B that have failed in the last 20 years. In terms of the mechanical engineering that went in behind this thing, it runs and drives perfectly fine. So I had the bumper replaced in the front for actually a whopping $1,400. That's right, $1,400 to replace the front bumper. And the car itself is $650. That kind of paints a picture for how this is going to go. I'm all right with it because I've always liked this car. I've had a kind of a crush on it since I really got into cars when I was a little kid. That has this little coupe styling to it, not quite as big as the SL class, but not quite as small as the C class. It's got that nice 4.3 liter V8 under the hood, which runs and drives fine, not a light on. The guy told me that the cats were bad, and I didn't really find much concern with that because I'm going to take these out anyway. Nice in-person transaction, some cold hard cash instead of going back and forth on Facebook Marketplace with endless issues. Went to Eurotech. I had them do a full assessment of the car to kind of just write down everything that's wrong with it, and can confirm with great confidence that this car is perfectly fine mechanically, except for a slight oil leak, which that's like every German car you look at. Very, very small. It sat in my driveway for a month while I waited for the DMV to get me my registration, and there was only a little Little residue on the driveway from oil, so it was all right. Who needs to do an oil change anyway when it's just leaking all over the floor? Just keep putting new oil in. Oh, and just for good measure, I got a nice fire extinguisher because this car seems to run just a little hot, but it's not noted in a way that it would be problematic. So I had brought it in for just a typical oil change, and I wanted to have an assessment of the vehicle. So we have front tires, rear tires, all the tires. Okay, maybe we could replace those. Steering damper, pretty noisy, recommend replacement, which it is. I'll show you in a minute. When you're driving this thing, she squeals quite a bit. Wheel bearings have play, and tighten that up. So then you got the rear tie rods, got play, recommend replacement. Rear brake pads, replacement, recommend alignment. A little bit of an oil leak. I'm gonna check that out, see how serious that is. I'm gonna do a brake fluid flush. Yeah, we're gonna do the whole brake thing. I'm not much of a fan or believe in doing one half of the brakes, or just like it's a pet peeve of mine. We're gonna do the whole brake system. I'm gonna get some of those cheesy like tire rack slotted rotors and throw them on here. And the battery's at 10.9 volts, so probably replace that as well. I really like driving this car every day. It gets a lot of looks, and even if it's good or bad, I don't really give a fuck. That's the beauty of it. I don't care what people think. I love driving this thing. As long as it's not overheating or about to catch on fire anymore. That needs to go, and this needs to open and close properly. This I need reupholstered. These headlights are so foggy, I've got recommendations to just replace the entire set. There's a trim piece that's supposed to go right here, and I've seen forums about how hard it is to find that piece. As a matter of fact, my body shop guy told me that it's like near impossible to try and get a hold of, like insanely difficult. So we're gonna just kind of take it day by day and go from there, figure it out. Seems like the back seats were basically never used. They look like they're brand new, which I don't know who in their right mind would be sitting back here. There was that really complicated cup holder system, which still worked. I use this hydro flask on a daily basis. I drink about 4 of these, which is about a gallon's worth of water. This needs to go. This is just, I know some people prefer that classic look. They really enjoy the nostalgic early 2000s, late 90s setup, but I really want a touchscreen. I want my Apple CarPlay, and most importantly, I'd want my Waze. Lastly, in terms of the broken this, broken that department, gauge cluster, power doesn't work. So all the warning lights still work, and the right side sort of works. Not really. You turn that on, this will dim. It'll tell me a lamp's defective because the turning signal's out. When I turn the fog lights on, as a matter of fact, they're actually more bright than the headlights, it seems, which is hard to believe, but it actually is. You got this little thing out. I don't know if it's considered a headlight, a fog light, whatever. I've closed that off. It's still out. These little babies down here are brighter than anything on the top up here, which is kind of funny, but bulbs, I don't know. I'm not a professional. I'm just here to talk shit and eat chicken nuggets with a side of chocolate milk, okay? So don't quote me there. The retainer, retention, whatever you want to call it, very bad. If I pull this out all the way, it'll take about 2 years to go back in. About two miles down. That in drive. We're going to turn traction off, which is amazing that it still functions completely with turning on and off. So you'll hear the suspension squeak quite a bit, but nothing too concerning. Nothing concerning enough to warrant me not driving the car, I guess. I'm pleased with the results for $650. So I'm hoping to remove the secondary cats, add a hydro brake, weld or replace the differential to CLK 55. But if I know myself well enough by now, I can't do it the super haggard way, and I'm gonna end up just getting the right CLK 55 rear diff so I can send it properly, because this thing, A, one wheel peels like hell, and B, well, that's about it. I'm just assessing right now if this Tahoe passing by is a police officer or not. I don't think so. See? It'll just take off, but it's definitely not under enough power to break loose at the moment, especially with how loose the suspension is and the open differential. It just will kind of chirp a little bit and then catch. The other day, I had hopes, I had dreams. I saw, wow, that's a lot of deer over there. Holy shit. We don't get those a lot here. We got hopes, we got dreams, we got a differential that needs to get welded together. This is a fun little summer project because dumping money into the M550i is possible, but not really the most exciting thing to be doing, I guess, considering that there are M5s out there. But based on how the market is and the fact that I went to go look at 3 different M5s in the last 2 weeks, and every single time they were asking some sort of crazy $15,000 overused price, nah. I'm gonna wait till the middle of December like I usually do. And then I'll go pick up an M5. And I'll add some light modifications here and there, but this is definitely going to be a fun little summer project. So stay tuned for more videos and insert generic like, subscribe, and comment below.